A very good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch UBC Lunchtime News with me, Sharon. Kyomugisha. In our top stories of the week, Uganda Revenue Authority's 30 years. The taxi body marked its three-decade anniversary of service delivery at a ceremony officiated by President Museveni. Museveni urged URA to expedite the installation of X-ray machines on border points to minimize tax evasion. Details follow.
On 5th of September 1991, the Parliament of Uganda passed an act which saw the establishment of Uganda Revenue Authority.
The authorities are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Give to everyone what you owe them. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then give respect. If honor, then give honor. In quote.
By marking 30 years in existence, President Museveni has expressed no regret for separating the tax body from the Ministry of Finance.
That's why they talk of 91. 91, which is when we realized that there was massive stealing, because they were collecting the money but not declaring it. So that's how we formed URA 1991.
President Museveni has tasked the tax body to expedite the installation of enough X-ray machines at all border points to minimize tax evasion.
We should do have X-ray machines. Let the vehicle come and park, and the X-rays see for you what is inside, so that you don't have to even delay. The X-ray will quickly see what is inside.
President has urged to the tax body to step up and raise the country's GDP tax ratio in order to limit borrowing.
The house is in Kampala Central. It has got more value than if it is in Matuga and so on. So he says, just allow me to bring my machines. And if I collect more money than you are collecting now, give me a percentage of it.
Minister Kasaija assured the country about economy's progress despite disruptions of COVID-19.
Even with 50% reduction in business activities countrywide, Uganda Revenue Authority has managed to collect 19.263 trillion Uganda shillings in financial year 2021, registering a 14.99 revenue growth and tax DGP ratio of 12.99%.
The respect and immense support of the taxpayers has helped the authority to move miles.
Taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations in accordance with the tax laws of Uganda, we recognize and appreciate the immense contribution you have made to the development of our country. A lot has been achieved by URA over the past 30 years.
Leveraging on technology is another venture the authority has utilized to maneuver through decades.
We launched 2 buses. We'll have a bus for every region. We have called these buses to Jenge Uganda, and there will be mobile tax offices. So meaning that in places where we don't have offices, we'll have a mobile team visiting to educate, to register, and to collect taxes. And we are praying that God will give us resources for 2 more buses to cover each region of Uganda.
Before the establishment of URA in 1991, the country's GDP tax ratio was at 4.3%. Currently, 30 years down the road, Uganda's GDP tax ratio is at 14.9%, which represents a tremendous achievement of widening the tax base and effective methods of tax collection and administration. Abdul Nasir Lubwama and Lydia Chomukama for UBC News.
National Resistance Movement Secretariat early this week celebrated President Museveni's 77th birthday. Now, this was at the National Resistance Movement Organization head office in Kampala District.
When Jaja Esther Kukundeka and Muzei Amos Kaguta, both parents to His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, gave birth to their son, little did they know that he would become a man of substance to the nation.
When they were welcoming a baby boy, they didn't know that they were giving birth to a global icon, a continental leader, a national liberator, and the father of our nation. The greatness of a leader is very, very important. We know him, many of us, and some of you have moved out of the country. There are people who would wish that they have President Museveni as their leader.
On this day of 15th September 1944, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was welcomed to this world. Now, National Resistance Movement staff and top leadership at the Secretariat held birthday celebrations. Usually it is political speeches, but on this day it has been music and dance.
No person has ever been tolerant like Museveni.
Not everybody will merit having such. At the Secretariat, I don't know whether this is the end time, but once we are present today, we congratulate ourselves to have been part of the process.
While addressing the celebrants, Rose Namayanja, NRM Deputy Secretary General, who was chief guest, asserted that President Museveni has put women at the steering wheel of this country, something the past leaders had not embraced.
I relate him with one of the great leaders in the Bible, King Solomon.
Where we are now is because he enabled the women to appreciate who they are and what they can contribute to the economy of their country. So we want to celebrate his life, we want to celebrate his goodness, we want to celebrate the contributions he has made to this country.
Reporting for UBC TV News, Helen Barbara, Gizamba.
And a happy belated birthday to President Yoweri Museveni. In more stories, a week after his death, the body of the late Archbishop of the Orthodox Church Metropolitan, John Lwanga, was brought back. Now the casket was received at Entebbe International Airport by bishops in the Orthodox Church and government officials led by the Attorney General, Chidiowa Chiwanuka. Archbishop John Lwanga succumbed to cancer-related complications last Sunday in Greece.
At exactly 3:22 a.m. Saturday morning, an Egyptian aircraft MS-837 carrying the body of the fallen Archbishop of the Orthodox Church of Uganda, the Most Reverend Metropolitan John Lwanga, touched down at Entebbe International Airport. It was a somber mood as clergy from the Orthodox Church, government officials, plus selected family members and friends gathered to receive the body of their own in strict observance of COVID-19 protocols. Government was represented by the Attorney General Chidiowa Chiwanuka and the government chief whip, Thomas Tayebwa.
We are going to have prayers for the next 3 days, starting today, Sunday and Monday. And these services are going to be starting very early in the morning. Sufficient arrangements have been made to ensure that we observe the necessary SOPs. We encourage everyone who is going to the service, please socially distance, wash your hands, but please do come and give our Archbishop the respectful send-off. But let's still stay safe and maintain the COVID SOPs. Before getting onto the Uganda Funeral Services van, short prayers were cited for the fallen man of God. The clergy thanked government for according the fallen Archbishop a state burial.
Served God, but also served the people of Uganda. We thank His Excellency, we thank the government for giving him a state burial that is due to him. We are happy that he's saluted as a person who offered great service to this nation. May his soul rest in peace. May we imitate his example in serving.
We are grateful for all the arrangements undertaken by the government of Uganda, and we pray that myself as an envoy of our Pope give thanks to the Lord for the life and the good work of our late Metropolitan Jonah.
The burial will be on Monday. The services will, like I said, will start always at 6 in the morning, but the official celebration will start at about 10 in the morning. The chief mourner will be His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who will be represented at the function by the Vice President, Her Excellency Jessica Alupo.
The Most Reverend Metropolitan Jonah Lwanga was a Ugandan prelate who served as the Metropolitan of Kampala and all Uganda in Central Africa under the Eastern Orthodox Church of Alexandria from 1997 until his death in September 2021. Archbishop Lwanga has since been replaced by His Eminence Archbishop Makarios Tirirides of Nairobi after he was appointed the caretaker of the Holy Metropolis of Kampala by His Beatitude Pope and Patriarch Theodoros II of Alexandria. Makarios is also expected to preside over the burial of Lwanga. Bernard Yiga, UBC News.
The leader of opposition, Mathias Mpuga, this week said he wants to ensure consensus with all political parties for better service delivery. He was marking his 100 days as the leader of the opposition in Parliament. Details follow.
Because in working together, we safeguard our joint territory. This territory is for all of us.
Mathias Mpuga was elected as principal of opposition political parties in Parliament 3 months ago, replacing his predecessor Betty Awolo-Chan. In recap of his 100 days of office, leader of opposition Mathias Mpuga says opposition is working towards peaceful existence and unity with other political parties.
It's a choice of how you want to work. And we have a clear distinction between what the party headquarters must be doing now and what members of parliament must be doing now. Okay? We are not trying to mimic what the party is doing, but we have the party agenda in mind.
With his modus operandi seemingly binding the opposition to the ruling party, Mpuga says his being in opposition is offering leadership and not creating a battleground.
Others can choose to do one. But if you are going to do both the job of the opposition and then offering leadership, then probably you have got to define an approach. I never wake up to be like another person. I wake up to work the way I know work is done.
Although National Unity Platform has majority members representing opposition, to date the party has reluctantly absconded from joining the Inter-Party Organization for Dialogue. He says the National Unity Platform as a party still has reservations of joining the coalition.
iPod is by free choice. We have the political parties and the Organizations Act, a law that houses the conduct of parties. iPod is not one of the sections in that law. But we also agree to the fact that as political parties that have a duty to generate political consensus in the country, we can belong to the collective.
Nonetheless, he says the party has not closed doors, but still scrutinizing their presence and benefit in the coalition.
We shall review our position.
On the incarceration of some opposition leaders and supporters, he says they are still in talks with the concerned parties. Susan Naonga reporting for UBC TV.
The Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, this week criticised the European Union for acting with bias against the government of Uganda in regards to their observation on election violence. Oulanyah questioned EU ambassadors on why they don't sanction politicians who promote election violence and only target to reprimand security agencies and government officials.
In January this year, the European Union Parliament recommended sanctions against Uganda government officials, whom they say were allegedly responsible for human rights violations during the recent general elections. To the Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oulanyah, who interfaced with the EU delegation in Uganda, accused the European Union of biased observations against the government of Uganda.
And I think that when I talk about balance is there is causation. Somebody who has caused it, but then there's also response. Somebody who has responded to what has happened. We should balance our things. We should discourage both. In fact, there would be no need to discourage the response if there is no causation.
Oulanyah challenged the European Union delegation on why they never came out to reprimand opposition leaders who were sounding drums of violence.
We are quiet about the leaders who are responsible for the overrun of the blockade that had been put. Say, no, don't pass here, this is the routing. It happened in Tororo, it happened in Jinja, it happened in Arua. I was in Arua when it happened. Say, they give guidance, say, don't go through the main business. You disrupt people who are just trying to make a living. Let them do, but use this routing to be able to access the ground where you're going to have your rallies. Certainly, none of us held a rally in the middle of the town. In the middle of the city square, nobody can hold a political rally there.
EU ambassadors, led by Anne Merrifield, the deputy head of EU delegation in Uganda, were quick to defend themselves, saying they reached out to every political party with a call for peaceful elections.
Before the elections, it was at the beginning of the campaign, we urge all political parties, and electoral candidates to call upon their supporters to refrain from violence and inflammatory language, and to take firm action to end any provocation or incitement to violence or any unlawful action. All political parties, candidates and their supporters should ensure the full implementation of the COVID-19 standard operating procedures.
European Union ambassadors also called upon Parliament to engage government to lift suspensions which were imposed on several civil society organizations and the Democratic Governance Facility DGF, which was shut down in February. Speaker Oulanyah says Parliament is now looking at restoring confidence by addressing people's needs.
To them, our priorities as parliamentarians now is to move away from rhetoric. We speak too much. There's no action. We need to move away from rhetoric and put some little action.
Benatiga, Parliament.
Heavy rains accompanied by wind and hailstorms have ravaged Busheni district, destroying plantations, crops and killing animals. Residents are now in panic as famine looms in the area. Now they're calling for government's intervention and provide the food and other non-food relief items.
Residents of Bumbaire and Nyabubari sub-counties in Bushenyi district are in panic following a hailstorm and wind that struck them last evening. According to the locals, heavy rain accompanied with wind and hailstorm began at around 7 p.m. but shortly after all their plantations and crops had been destroyed. According to the area leaders, over 18 villages have been grossly affected.
So our people, they need immediate and urgent attention in terms of food relief.
In Nyabubari sub-county, it spoiled all the plantations and even buildings at sub-county and also some parishes in Chugoma. And even before that, we had got the same calamity.
Chitabi Teachers College and Chigoma Parish were also swept away by winds. Residents in the affected areas have entirely been depending on banana, coffee and cassava for both income and food, but all these have been destroyed.
So we are requesting our government to immediately come to our rescue. Otherwise, we don't have even what to eat.
Immediately after the disaster struck the area, local leaders reached out to the Minister of Disaster and Preparedness for quick intervention. The State Minister for Disaster, Esther Anyakuni, swiftly went to assess the extent of the damage. Residents narrated to her their ordeal, requesting her ministry to come to their rescue by providing relief food to cater for their families.
You know, these people here are already farmers. They're doing something. It is not like they have not been doing anything, that they need free things. But we need to support people who are trying their best to do something. And so the government has to come in. That's why I'm here. I took up a speed up kind of action to be here today, to be able to share with the people their grievances and see how we can be able to support.
Minister Anyakuni also assured the locals that government will provide basic relief items including plastic sheetings, iron sheets, among others. She also tasked the Minister of Agriculture to immediately respond to the people's outcry by providing fast-growing crops to fix the looming famine.
My ministry will be able to give them some relief items and non-food relief items, but the problem is it's not sustainable. So we need the Ministry of Agriculture to come in action to be able to give them some short-term live there kind of seeds like beans. I'm just from an household where somebody's pigs were killed by the hailstorm. That means that has been his livelihood. So this kind of people should also be identified so that other government programs like Operation Wealth Creation can be able to support them.
Well, in more news, the Department of Disaster Preparedness and Refugees is to aid hailstorm and landslide-affected area communities in Uganda District. The Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Engineer Hilary Onek, and State Minister Esther Nyakuni pledged this during a visit to Uganda, and other ministers were accompanied by the area woman member of Parliament and other Uganda district leaders.
Close to 770 homesteads in Kachinga, 480 in Kashozi and Kashozi Primary School in Ishongororo sub-county in Uganda district, along with gardens and banana plantations, were recently destroyed by a hailstorm, leaving a number of households without shelter.
The rain came in a stormy way. It was a stormy rain that removed the roof. Almost everything inside the house was soaked in water and mud. We did not save a lot. Food items, our clothes, the beddings and everything were all destroyed.
This has prompted the Minister for Disaster Preparedness and Refugees, Engineer Hilary Onek, and State Minister for Disaster Preparedness, Esther Nyakuni, to visit the devastated areas.
The tragedy that is befalling us because of the climatic change. This climatic change is ushering in many other hazards, some of which we didn't know before. So we are just trying to move around, assess the damage, the damage. Just behind me here is one of the houses ravaged by the hailstorm.
So we thank God first of all for keeping us alive. This was a very bad strategy. Just as my senior colleague has said, we shall definitely support the church. It's just because there is a distance between here and Kampala, but we want to bring the mabati together with the food items for the people.
Engineer Hilary Onek pledged government support towards the affected communities.
We have come here on behalf of our President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, whom we are working with, whom we are serving. We are in his government. When we go back on Monday, we are going to give him brief of these challenges, and we shall also try to send some small relief, whatever is in our stores, send relief to these people who have suffered.
Uganda District Woman Member of Parliament, Kyomugisha, thanked government for the timely response. She asked Uganda communities to embrace planting of trees to avoid future disasters.
I wrote a letter to the Ministry of Disaster and Preparedness, and they promised to come. So I followed it up, and now today, the 18th of September, they are here. We are so grateful because they have even in fact promised to even give us iron sheets and even some food stuff. We are really grateful and we know that this is Chisanja Akuna Mchezo. And we are all happy as people of Uganda, because when we see the two ministers here, we know that the president himself is here. Now this one shows that we work together. The only thing I want to request my people of Uganda, that we stop the issue of cutting trees. Let us continue planting trees, because maybe that is the challenge. That is the challenge that bringing this hailstorm.
The most affected areas include Karangara in Bisheshe, Nyamirima Parish, Bufunda Division, Yibanda Municipality. Others are Chichuzi Parish, Yibanda South, and Kachinga Ward in Ishongororo Town Council, among others.
2 UPDF officers were early this week critically injured when they knocked a train in Chireka near Kampala. The Thursday morning accident also led to the derailing of the train, but fortunately there was no death. Details follow.
Two UPDF officers were critically injured on Thursday morning when their patrol van registration number H4DF 2180 rammed into a bandwagon train 73U20.
Ayo musajja wa majje aze speed nnyo oyo wagundi wa train yagezezaako okubanga agiragiramu naye nga bwomanyi train esibira wala.
They came at a high speed whereby they had not seen the train coming. And then since they had knocked the boda man, they were either trying to rush and maybe park aside, so they just came and collided with with the train.
According to eyewitnesses, this happened after the UPDF patrol van, which was allegedly overspeeding, failed to stop even after the train instructor showing a red flag to indicate the approaching train.
Kati ebadde erowooza nti egenda crossinga esooka emmotoka eno kuba ye emanyi nti oba bimanyi nti bino bisooba kati ye ebadde emanyi nti nesobola okusooba okwanguwa okukisinga.
Abasirikale babiri naye ebyuma bibadde bigumu nnyo, abasirikale abamu ebimu bibasaze kuno, ffenaffe ne bitusala engalo zino zonna noziraba zonna omusirikale yansibye.
Kintu ekyo ne tukijjayo wansi eri amagulu gonna ne gavaayo, oyo abadde awamagamiddire ennyo amagulu gano nga baganyize naye n'avaayo.
Eyewitnesses know that the speeding UPDF patrol van was being chased by boda riders on allegations that it had knocked their colleague in Weyogerere.
Ababadde mu eyo double cabinet ya police bavudde Weyogerere nga babagoba nti batomedde ababoda ne bafiirawo. Kakati ne bajja nga ababoda babagoba. Kati batuse mu junction ya train. Batuse mu junction ya train. Training ejja tebasibyemu.
Ochaki Abubakar, the head of the operations at Uganda Railway Corporation, confirmed the incident.
7:30, our commuter train was approaching the Chireka level crossing. Unfortunately, it rammed into a UPDF patrol vehicle. And what exactly happened is our level crossing guard stopped the rest of the vehicles. But an unfortunate incident happened that this patrol vehicle did not stop. And it knocked our train, and after knocking our train, it disabled the movement of the train.
No persons were reported dead, and the two UPDF officers were rushed to Nakasero Hospital, where they are receiving treatment. Sadam Mubale, UBC News, Kampala.
Very unfortunate. So with bad news, a human body was this week discovered tied on Immaculate Onebe remains in a septic tank at our residence in Munyonyo, Kampala. Police has collected DNA samples from the deceased daughter to ascertain whether the two dead bodies match the samples. This was at the former marital home of Immaculate Onebe in Muyenga, Kampala.
I want my wife. If they have killed her, let them give me the body.
The case in which Francis Onebe was arrested to help in the investigation of the death of his wife, Immaculate Onebe, has taken a new twist. Uganda police has established that a bag tied on the decomposing body of Immaculate contained suspected remains of a human being,
with other seeming body bones of hands, the limbs, and the legs. And it became now a puzzle. So inevitably we had to do post-mortem on two dead bodies.
blood samples from the daughter of the deceased have been collected to ascertain whether they match with the two dead bodies.
It may only match only one dead body. The puzzle we have is to whom does the second body belong to.
Police appeals to the public to report any missing person who might have been working at Francis Onebe's home.
So that we interview, probably if the right person, we can take some samples for DNA profiling.
Immaculate Onebe disappeared on the 6th January 2021, and until police made a search at the residence, no smell was sensed by the neighborhood.
There are so many avenues of how you can mitigate smell. Some of them are chemicals. And we have taken samples of those bad things for examination.
As of now, no suspect has been charged as investigations continue.
The good news is that we have built a formidable laboratory at Naguru, and we are very, very optimistic that the results will be out.
Francis Onebe was running a private security company called Pentagon Security, a poster pinned at the wall of his residence. Ivan Kahwa, UBC News in Munyonyo.
Some stories leave you very speechless, but we pray that Francis gets justice and gets to know what exactly happened to his wife. In more stories during the week, Karamoja region leaders are worried about the increased number of young girls running away from their homes due to gender-based violence. Now, the district chairperson, Amuda Joseph Nangole, says that female genital mutilation and forced marriages are the commonest gender-based violence cases. Members of Parliament on the Gender Committee headed by the State Minister for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, was this week assessing the situation in the areas that practice female genital mutilation.
Kalasi Girls School in Amda district is one of the shelter places where victims of gender-based violence in the district undergo rehabilitation therapy. The facility can accommodate over 90 victims of violence. The Committee of Parliament on Gender, Labour and Social Development, headed by the State Minister for Gender and Culture, took an initiative to visit the centre to address issues of gender-based violence. The chairperson of the district narrated how female genital mutilation and early child marriages are the common cases of gender-based violence in the district.
We receive mothers who come for maternity services like delivery through the CISA. You find out that there are young girls who have been married and they have gotten pregnant.
He urges government to educate the girl child and put more emphasis on sensitization on gender-based violence to both men and women.
And what we are saying as a district, every NGO that is coming to Amudat should now address the aspect of economic aspect.
The committee also visited Moroto District Local Government GBV Advice Center. Here, leaders call for strengthening of law enforcement, especially at border points, and increasing awareness of gender-based violence.
We strengthened so much the law enforcement, because I remember one time the Tepes Cultural Day, it was put in those sub-counties, and the surgeons, the ladies who are surgeons, and they surrendered their tools.
They want government to empower women in Karamoja with economic support to bring an end to modern-day slavery in the region.
Government, especially the center, the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, if the funds can allow, so that we can expand this shelter.
The chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Gender, Flavia Kabahenda, says the committee will table all the issues raised on the floor of Parliament to attract support to the region.
But one thing is what must be behind our hearts, that development is not about objects, it's about the people.
The State Minister for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, says the need to mobilize resources to empower women and infrastructure in the region is timely.
We are going to mobilize the resources
to empower structures and networks to continue in the struggle against COVID-19, but also against violence against women.
The need for Amda district to have a radio station to relay information in the indigenous language to the community is top on agenda.
We are also going to find a community radio for Amdat so that they can be able to do more sensitization and mobilization.
Jane Kyomugisha, reporting for UBC in Karamoja.
Well, government this week took over this compulsory COVID-19 testing at Entebbe International Airport for all the travellers entering the country. According to the Minister for ICT, Chris Bariomunsi, Cabinet took the decision after numerous complaints from travellers over the high costs and the exercise and the unfair treatment by private laboratories.
Travelers entering Uganda from Entebbe International Airport will soon start smiling after government takeover of the compulsory COVID-19 testing upon arrival. This is because the takeover by government has reduced testing costs from $65 to $30.
So once the government takes over the testing, the travelers will be charged only $30, which is just the recovery cost to recover the cost of the reagents and testing, and the money shall be paid through a bank at the airport, which bank shall run 24/7, 24 hours.
The cabinet sitting on Monday also decided that in order to reduce on time for waiting for COVID results, testing will now be done at the airport, contrary to the private actors who used to process everything in Kampala.
Why we have taken this decision is that a number of travelers have been complaining that the costs are a bit high, and also there has been a lot of inconvenience. When we spoke to the people running laboratories, the reason why the cost has been high is that once you check out of the airport, they have to transport you to where they have set the laboratories, and they are hiring buildings where this facility is, and that has been adding the costs. But the decision we took was that one, government should take over the testing, and we shall shift the taking of samples to be done within the airport and not outside. And also arrangements are being made to make sure that the travelers spend as short a time as possible when they are waiting for the results. Because when we tour the airport, the travelers are spending 4 hours plus, which is a very big inconvenience.
The minister further clarifies that the COVID-19 testing will now become compulsory for all the travelers entering the country, as opposed to only those coming from countries with high COVID rates.
As we facilitate the economy and trade, but also we should be cognizant of the fact that there is a risk of these new variants coming into the country. For instance, right now there is a new variant which we call new variant that originates from Colombia, South America, which is saturating in the world. And we have to do all it takes to see that we keep off some of these emerging variants if we are going to avoid the third wave and the other waves, but also if we are going to contain this challenge of COVID-19.
Cabinet has, however, given the technocrats 1 week to effect the decisions. Last week, the Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja, had suspended the compulsory COVID-19 testing for travelers on arrival at Entebbe following controversies that surrounded the process by the private labs. That has now prompted government takeover of the exercise. Philip Aguta, UBC News in Kampala.
Minister of Health. The Permanent Secretary Minister of Local Government, Ben Kumumanya, this week advised Chibuku residents to embrace the growth projects, the local economic growth projects. Kumumanya was officiating the launch of the local economic growth support project in Nankondo Sub-County, Kibuku District.
Chibuku is one of those districts in Uganda that are well endowed with wetlands. The area's main activity is cultivation of rice, cassava, millet and beans. Most of these people get their livelihoods from the wetlands and rivers surrounding them, mainly River Mpologoma, Olimoto and Lake Lema.
We happen to be here. The Local Economic Growth Support Project, LEGS, is funded by the government of Uganda, but majorly by the Islamic Development Bank. It seeks to increase the productive capacity of rural communities to engage in agri-production, which increases their income at personal level and at household level. And this is in line with the local economic development policy of government.
The government, through the Ministry of Local Government, accessed funding of over 8 billion shillings to support local economic growth projects. This project aims at increasing rural farmers' incomes by boosting agricultural production and productivity. The project technical advisor, Local Economic Development, Assumpta Tibamwenda, represented the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Local Government, Ben Kumumanya, at the event held in the area.
This project is really giving effect to the local economic development policy. It has two major objectives. There is a physical infrastructure component that provides roads, water, enhances production, productivity, handles post-harvest handling. It has all these restoration of projects. It has demonstration centers. It has artificial insemination. The menu is very big. What I need to tell you about this menu is that I've worked with projects for a long time, but this project menu is so rich, so endearing, so versatile, so flexible, but within the local economic development effort.
The resident district, Mwana Moiza Margaret, asked residents of Chibuku to receive the project wholeheartedly because it will help them create jobs.
Government NRM kulembera omwami Museveni kyetako singa mbaire mutega biwaito babaire bali ukobanga wumbi obuwumbi kitegeza nti sente nyingine gyakwizaina ekibuku nandisabire ntukuba ku matu tube bayikiriza tuwonenge ebintu bino bituukirira omunkolensa.
The chairperson, Chibuku District, Haji Nakeba Muhammad, flanked by the area's chief administrative officer, Mabia Joshua, pledged total support to the project.
I think once fruit growing and market and vegetable growing grows, Chibuku should be the center of market gardening in this region and indeed in the whole country. With the construction of this Palisa Road, the other one of Kamonkoli Road, then this other one of the Mbale Road, why can't we become a center of vegetables and fruits in this country?
Kadama livestock market bali kwa utuzimbere market eri modern omufisha kutawana ngo kwabeka muge ngosala mukibuku notwala emongoyo nibatunda iwenwira nachi na mabola.
Residents of Nankodo in Chibuku District applauded government for extending the project to their area.
Tutwale bitungulu nga tubitwala mu town ye Palisa. Era nga tutaka tufuna kasente akatuyamba kayamba n'abaana baisu omukusoma.
It's part of a livelihood alternative for restoration of the environment, because many people, as you can see behind, it is actually one leg in the garden, one leg in the lake, which means we have not given that, we have not protected that red zone and the green zone for the lake. So the intention of this exercise is to ensure that we give the lake the chance to breathe, and we can only do that if we give it the appropriate space that is not encroached with human activities.
Local economic development implementation in Chibuku is aimed at reducing hunger and poverty, but also for people to leave wetlands now being restored.
Uganda Airlines this week launched a fundraising campaign aimed at building a house for one Wilson Habanji, whose plane experience story has been trending online. In the story shared online by Henry Mtebe, he highlighted that he saw it fit to reward 74-year-old Habanji with a dream flight to Nairobi for the good things he did for him 20 years ago.
There is an old African adage that says it takes a village to raise a child, and this saying resonates well with Wilson Habanji's story. Dabanji is the man who has been trending online after Henry Mutebe shared his story in a long Facebook post, which Mutebe gave a footnote of the good old man on Uganda Airlines flight, why we should never stop doing good. The story goes that after losing his father, Mutebe was taken to a boarding school by his mother, who was swamped with the burden of sustaining a family alone. But there was this old man, Wilson Dabanji, who used to ride a bicycle around the village for a living. He knew Mutebe's family, and he ensured that he paid him a visit at school every Sunday. According to Mutebe, Dabanji wore worn-out slippers, had no shoes, and wore the same shirt all the Sundays that he visited him at school. And at school, they knew him as his father. The children would mock his looks and also bullied him. Dabanji endured the close to 3-hour journey every Sunday and delivered the little he had to Mutebe, and sometimes he had nothing.
And sometimes he brought things as simple as a quarter kilo of sugar. Sometimes he gave me 200 shillings from his own pocket every Sunday for 3 years. I don't recall a single Sunday I did not see him. Even if we were either in class, he would come and deliver what he has brought.
One thing Dabanji always reiterated to Mutebe was for him to work hard and succeed in life, because if this happens, people like him who never got an education would perhaps have an opportunity to fly on an airplane. Mutebe says Dabanji always emphasized the issue of flying on a plane. Now fast forward 2021, Mutebe is a grown-up and Dabanji in retirement. Mutebe decided that the time was now to give the old man his surprise trip on a plane. And it finally happened aboard Uganda Airlines flight to Nairobi on Sunday, 12 September 2021.
However, on advise that to continue as soon as possible in those interest of safety, we should remind you that Uganda Airlines is a loss-making airline.
When I had to make a choice as to whether to build a house for Mr. Dabanji or take him on a flight, my instinct told me to take him on a flight. I did not know that it was going to blow up and lead to such kind of surprises.
For Dabanji, this wasn't a trip he had dreamed of. This was no bucket list item. In fact, he didn't give it much thought. He didn't know this was even possible. The picture shared online showed a jovial and teary Dabanji on Uganda Airlines Sierra J900 aircraft and seated in business class. Business class, you heard me right, because on learning about Dabanji's story, Uganda Airlines decided to get involved.
We want to thank God that we're the people who were able to carry them on our flight, fly them with Uganda Airlines.
Now the airline has launched a fundraiser and they want to help build a house for Dabanji and Rebecca.
We are going to lead in this. Everyone who is willing to come on board, build a house for Mr. Dabanji and Mama Rebecca, you are all welcome. Today we are here to launch this campaign. It has been launched. We have put on the merchant codes for both MTN and Airtel. So please join. Let's change our life. It will not stop only on Mr. Dabanji and Mama Rebecca, but even to the others. It will spread.
What we learned from Mutebe's story is that it rewards to do good for people, and there are many Dabanjis and Rebeccas out there who are providing and interacting positively with the village children so as to experience and grow in a safe and healthy environment. What's important to note is that such people are facing extinction, and the few we have may be among the last in a dying breed. Samuel Senono, UBC News.
Thank you so much, Samuel Senono, for that lovely, inspiring story. You can always contribute. You can always go to, I think, Uganda Airlines website to find out more and what you can do or contribute to Dabanji and Rebecca's house. We'll take a short commercial break and we'll be back with more stories.
I smile when I think of you, Uganda, my home. My home, I dance when I look at you, Uganda, my home. Oh, my Uganda.
I know, with you I'll always stay forever. I know, because I feel that we belong together. My home. So bright under the moon at
MTN, we look forward to starting another exciting journey together to grow our home, Uganda.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly. Until James discovered something big. Now he can finally enjoy the benefits of home ground advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV Valley. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
These days, our homes are no longer just the places we live. It's where we attend meetings, go to class, keep each other safe, and entertain ourselves. To do this smoothly, you need a reliable internet connection. Connect your home online with MTN WakaNet Max, a fast and reliable home internet solution to power your streaming, gaming, online classes, work, and CCTV security cameras. The MTN WakaNet Max starter kit comes with a free 4G router, SIM card, and 35 GB bundle with no validity, all at 245,000 Uganda shillings. Visit any MTN service center to sign up.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. As the world tightens the belt in the fight against COVID-19, lockdowns have proven to be one of the most effective measures of controlling coronavirus spread. Now it, however, comes with its share of demerits, especially on the economy, as many organizations are forced to lay off some of their workers in order to reduce on operational costs.
It was almost brought to its knees last year when it was hit by COVID-19 pandemic. This saw economies shut down as lockdowns became the order of the day. The managing director, Hotel of Uganda, says they took advantage of the lockdown to equip staff members with better skills of managing a competitive confectionery market in the bakery and confectionery industry.
So what we very quickly thought was to use this time, because nobody knew when this pandemic was going to ease in. We took 80% of our staff for training, to prepare them so that when things get better, then we can be able to get a more skilled, more knowledgeable, and more capacitated labor force. So we used a lot of instead of laying off workers, we took advantage of that learning time to train.
Yes, the government to put emphasis on hands-on trainings to equip the youth for the future. He hastens to add that the world has changed and organizations should devise measures to keep the operations going without reducing on the workforce.
You don't know what the standard says. Ask from a quality controller. Am I doing the right thing? What are the requirements for the standards? Because at the end of the day, when UNBS comes for surveillance audit, and finds you are not meeting the requirements, then they will close the place.
How can we be able to produce quality? How to deal with the demand in the market? All those we did share with our team that was training us.
Mr. Matano says, as Hotlof, they have learned a lot from the pandemic and are now well prepared for the future emergencies. He also thanks the government through the Ministry of Health for the efforts put in place to reduce the spread of COVID-19.
New thing for everybody. It is not an easy thing to train, but we are doing our best to make sure that we are wearing gloves, we have masks on, we wash our hands, we sanitize. All our convenience places have been heavily sanitized to ensure that we don't contaminate people, either when they come in or when they're going out.
On her side, the project coordinator PSFC, Madam Namakura Mariam, says the training of staff was the best way to use the lockdown period to add the modern skills to boost the production standards.
So actually when COVID came, we took it as an opportunity to equip our staff with the skills.
Namakula adds that although the period has been challenging to the organization financially, they couldn't send away the staff since they were also affected by the pandemic.
We value our workers so much, and well, it was not their fault for the pandemic to come around. So we had to reconsider ourselves. But then, before COVID, we had done a training needs assessment. So all that COVID brought up just found us in the process of training our staff. So actually when COVID came, we took it as an opportunity to equip our staff with the skills, because there's ample time.
Hotlof now looks forward to extend its operations to other parts of the country to bring service nearer to the communities. This was at the training held at Hotlof Confectionery Offices on Jinja Road. The training was supported by Skills Development Facility and a private sector foundation. Uganda. Edwin Yachuara, UBC News.
Now in more news, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Ruth Nankabira, with her counterpart, Okasia Opolot, the State Minister for Energy, this week paid a visit to the 183 megawatts Isimba hydropower project as part of the energy sector tour.
The ministers were given an insight into the operations of one of Uganda's flagship energy projects, its achievements and challenges faced to date. Among the key issues highlighted was lack of spare parts and defects that continue to impede the smooth and efficient operations of the plant.
Given the slow pace of correction of the pending snags and the completion of the outstanding works and defects by the contractor exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic, we have the following concerns. The risk of the expiry of the final loan drawdown date of 21st December 2021 for the loan extended from 19th June 2020 before completion of project works could result in loss of funds to complete the project. B, the DLP extension, the defects liability period extension coming to an end without the contractor completing the correction of critical snags. Honorable Ministers, you can critically observe that that's why we have always requested for extension of the DLP.
775 defects had been identified by the time of commissioning in 2019, and additional 584 have been identified since then. The defects are supposed to be fixed within a 2-year defects liability period by the contractor.
We will be able to settle. Our concern is that we will not face accountability problems in the future when the plant is finally given to us, managing it 100% outside the defect liability period, and there are defects which are not handled. So that could cause a query.
In March 2022, the liability period is expected to end, and once it ends, the contract-tied Chinese firm is expected to leave and probably leaves it in poor working conditions, affecting functionality.
The contractor has promised that they are going to increase their resources so that we can be able to complete all these defects within the scheduled DLP extension of time, which is not very far. It is in March next year.
All the technical problem could be resolved by
our team and the OE team. If we cannot, I don't think anybody else in the world can resolve it.
Shaidat Nasaku, UBC News.
UBC News Roundup today on the 19th of September 2021. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sharon. Kyomugisha. Have a lovely day and a good afternoon and a beautiful week. Bye-bye.